Bill Moseley,
Danielle Harris,
Dick Warlock,
George Romero,
Kane Hodder,
Robert England,
Ronnie Blakely,
CJ Graham.
and you're listening to
Deep in the Horror of Texas.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Oh, hey, you okay?
Damn enchilada!
You gonna be alright?
I'm feeling woozy air. What's in the box?
It's Blackest Time.
What's in the fucking box?
Anything!
Something prime time, bitch.
Hey guys, your buddy Ralph here. Just wanted to let you know the episode that you're about to listen to is essentially just a audio version of the video that we recorded at the Blumhouse Panel during Texas Frightmare this past year. So if you got around to actually watching the video, this is literally the same thing with the exception of us just adding our outro and intro to it. So if you want to sit down and listen to it, that way you don't have to use up your data to watch the YouTube video, by all means. If not, we'll have another episode here pretty soon. In the meantime, you guys have a great day, enjoy, and remember, keep it scary.
With me, but you have me. My name is Ryan Turek. I'm the VP of Development over at Blumhouse Productions. I also co-host Shockwaves. Awesome. I hope you're there tomorrow at 1 p.m. Yep. What's that?
Oh, no, we're
I don't know what kind of format to approach this with, to be honest. This is kind of like my first time doing something like this. Last year, Becca McKendry and we kind of talked about Blumhouse and what we were up to, and Blumhouse.com existed at the time, and she was working for that. But I know you guys are here for one thing.
Probably right.
And yeah, I know. It's the number one thing I've been tweeted about and social media about, and I wish I had surprises. But listen, I'll tell you this. I know you're here for I know you guys want to see the Halloween trailer, and I wish I could show you. I know. Listen, I do not have that power. Listen, here's the thing. So the trailer played at CinemaCon. CinemaCon is a private event for basically theater, like distributors and theatrical owners. Like the heads of AMC are there, Regal Cinemas. So it's like a place for them to see all the stuff that's coming out over the next several months, you know? So that's why the Venom trailer finally showed fucking Venom. It's where they showed the new Jurassic World trailer. There was so much noise surrounding, yes, I hear you. There was so much noise surrounding all these other films. When we drop the Halloween trailer, can we own that fucking day? So we're trying to find that day to own it, and we'll give it to you. It's gonna, trust me, I have everybody's ears at Universal. I have Blum's ear. And I'm like, we need to show it sooner than later. So I am working on it. You'll see it sooner than later. I can tell you it's really cool. And yeah, I mean, like, listen, it's because of you guys that I rallied behind everybody to get Halloween made. You know, when we found out that the Halloween rights were up because Harvey Weinstein lost the rights. You know, Blum and I, did a concentrated effort to chase those rights. I had found out because the director of the film, they were going to do a Halloween 3. And when I found out that they hadn't started production, when they were supposed to start production, we found out that the rights were up. And, Malik Akkad from Trancas International was an integral part of that. He's fantastic. And it's, but, at Blumhouse, we're very director-driven as opposed to IP-driven. Insidious, that's a James Wan, that sprung from the mind of James Wan and Lee Wanell. Sinister, that sprung from the mind of Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson. We kind of create the IPs as opposed to chasing and making movies based on them. Halloween, it just made sense. I was like, dude, look at the fan base. And the big challenge is where do we go? As you guys all know, we ignore everything after film number 1. Because honestly, where do you go? You can't do a film post-Resurrection. You can't do a post-Rob Zombie without Rob Zombie. I think Rob Zombie had his own authorship and his own signature on those films. And so when we talked to David Gordon Green, he was like, I don't want to do anything except I just want to acknowledge the first film, and that's it. And that's where we decided to go. But I'm very excited for you guys to see it. We have a lot of stuff coming out this summer that'll get you pumped up. Comic-Con will obviously be a very big signature convention for you to keep an eye on. But yeah. But beyond that, I feel like we should just have like a cool questions and answers, get into the know you session. So if any of you guys have any questions, hit me up right here.
How much truth's behind that Jason's Blum is chasing down Friday the 13th?
That is something, yes. Well, here's the thing with Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, the rights are, as you guys know...
Victor Miller.
Yeah, well, there's the Victor Miller, Sean Cunningham element of it. But there's also the New Line Paramount element of it. After Platinum Dunes did Friday the 13th, 2009, they had done some sort of like studio swap. I don't know how many of you guys kept an eye on this, but the studios basically traded like IP. They traded properties. So it was New Line gave up Friday the 13th and something else, so they could get
something from
Christopher Nolan. Interstellar, yes.
Yeah,
thank
they
you.
gave up South Park and Friday.
Exactly. So they had a time limit, and that time limit was 2018. And so now it's 2018. Friday the 13th is technically supposed to go back to New Line, but the Victor Miller, Sean Cunningham debate wages on. So until that simmers down, we have to see where the rights lie. But I would love to do Friday the 13th. I know Blum would love to do Friday the 13th. Anything that we do would just be like, let's look at the property and then find someone, a director, to lead the charge and put their stamp on it and do something really cool and amazing. Yeah.
Where are y'all at with Five Nights at Freddy's?
Five Nights at Freddy's. We've kind of quietly, kind of put that into the world. How many of you guys know that we were supposed to do Five Nights at Freddy's? Okay, so you're following social media. Scott Cawthon, who's incredible, he had tweeted out, and apparently he's got like over 100,000 fans on Twitter, and then he tweeted out one image. And that was his first tweet ever, and it was just the chair in front of our logo. And from that point on, we've kept quiet, but Chris Columbus is now involved in it, and he's writing. So we're just waiting on that. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know.
Can you explain the difference between the VH Tilt and regular Blumhouse?
Sure, yeah. So June 1st, we have a film called Upgrade. Lee Wanell wrote and directed it. Have you guys seen any early versions? Have you seen early screenings of it yet? This movie is bananas. I'm going to stand up because this is stupid sitting. So Upgrade is basically Logan Marshall Green, who one night he and his wife they meet some bad guys. They kill his wife. They leave him without any function below his neck. And his best friend comes up to him and he's like, I'm going to implant this thing called STEM into your system. And it's gonna get you walking again. You're going to be able to have a full life. And Logan Marshall Green gets back. He's like, I'm amazed. This is great. I'm walking around. I could be a mechanic again. Oh man, my wife is dead. That really sucks. And I want to get revenge. And then STEM, this thing, starts talking to him and is like, I can completely help you with that. And he's like, I don't know if you noticed this, but in this video, you missed an address to one of the bad guys. And he's like, well, let's go get him. And STEM is a fully functioning thing. So what happens to this guy is in the middle of a fight, because he can't fight, he can shut down and let STEM take over. And STEM is a badass. And he just starts kicking some serious butt. And so that film was produced under Blumhouse, and it's going to be released under Neon and Tilt. And VH Tilt is just a kind of an avenue for those films that that don't warrant, when you put out a film in like 3,000 screens, those fetch $20 to $35 million ad campaigns. Like, you got to think about that on top of the budget that you're spending for the film. Universal, who's our distributor, puts a lot of money into selling the crap out of the movie. And so when you talk about budgets and you talk about recouping budgets, you always have to think about that $30 million that you spend to advertise and tell you about it. So the BH Tilt titles are films that don't necessarily warrant that, but they also don't deserve to go straight to VOD. Like, we want you to see them. So they're kind of just smaller releases. And then if they do really well, like, I suppose like It Follows and The Witch, not our films, but those are films that started out very small in like 1,000 screens, and then they just got bigger and bigger, and so they started releasing. So if Upgrade does really well, it'll definitely reach a wider audience, but like, it'll be like 1,500 screens, and people will still be able to see it. But that's kind of the difference between BH Tilt. They're kind of like films that are a little left of center, a little more oddball, and we have a couple of other titles in our pipeline that'll probably go under that. So yeah.
So I would have the pleasure of walking through your Blumhouse Universal walkthrough of Halloween Horror Nights this year.
Oh, cool.
Triple Purge Election Day, Happy Death Day, which is awesome, by the way. And Sinister. Obviously, you have a close relationship with Universal. Can you talk a little bit about that collaboration? I love walkthroughs.
Yeah, the Halloween Horror Nights stuff. Yeah, they because our first look deal is with Universal Studios, Universal Pictures. We have a good relationship with John Murray and Mike Aiello over at Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood and Hollywood Horror Nights Orlando, respectively. So yeah, each year we just John and Mike, those guys who build those amazing immersive experiences, they like once they're done, November 1st or November 2nd, they're working on the next year. Like, those guys, job security is set because it takes all year and all this planning. And there's a couple of titles that I'm involved with that we're going to be doing for Halloween Horror Nights, and John and Mike just pour everything into it. But they just come to us and they're like, "Hey, do you have something that you wanna do this year?" And I think we have a couple. Well, there will be more official announcements on it, but you can take guesses. When we did the Purge, that was a lot of fun. The Purge walkthrough. I mean, that world is just ripe for an experience like that. I remember, oh God, was it last year? And this is a testament to these guys working creatively on the fly. Last year at the Purge thing, the Purge walkthrough, they had this guy on the back of a semi with a big Gatling gun on a tripod, and as you're exiting the maze, he's like, "Die, die!" and he's blowing you away, and then a massive shooting happened, and it just didn't feel right. Everybody was kind of like, maybe we shouldn't leave that experience with the sense that you're all gonna, get blown away. So the guys just quickly snipped out the sound and snipped out the gun and put the guy there with an axe and just made, this is still very effective. This guy was still coming at you as the last big scare. But I noticed that was something that they had altered. So those guys are really quick, really creative, really cool. Last year we did The Horrors of Blumhouse, which was kind of a culmination of a bunch of films. So we had Happy Death Day in there. We had The Purge in there. We did a Sinister walkthrough for the first time. So it was kind of a best of Sinister and Sinister 2, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, we got more to come for sure. It's cool. I love it. Yeah.
Since it was announced, is there anything you can actually say about Happy Death Day 2?
Yeah. We start shooting Happy Death Day 2 in a couple weeks. How many of you guys seen Happy Death Day? Yeah. Did you guys like it? Yeah. All right, right on. Oh, cool. Good. Well, it's the same team, guys. I mean, like, it's Chris Landon writing and directing. Jessica Roth is back playing Tree. It's I don't want to give too much away, but there is, Jessica Roth, I think on Twitter, said that there's like a Back to the Future 2 element to it. That is true, but I also think tonally, it falls in line with a trio of films that I especially love from the 80s, Weird Science and My Science Project and Real Genius. In the 80s, Hollywood had this fascination with weird, spooky science, and then this threw comedy actors in there, and that. When I read the script for this one, I was like, oh, this is definitely in line with those movies. This is cool. So, but he'll bring his same signature kind of thing. It's not, I think it kind of eases up on there's still slasher elements to it, but without getting too far into it, there's a new mystery that's involved. So that's cool. Yeah. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, my best friend who actually got me into the horror scene, she couldn't be here, but she wants to know if she has an idea for a Blumhouse movie, will anybody look at it?
Yeah.
Would there be anybody who would? She's an amazing writer.
Yeah. Well, yes, if she's represented. Does she have any kind of representation, like a manager or agent or anything like that? Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I just to give you guys a little bit of background, I used to work for Fangoria magazine, and I co-founded Dread Central. Way back in the day, and then jumped over to Fangoria for a while, and then jumped into Shock Till You Drop. I ran this website called Shock Till You Drop. It got, I don't know if you guys can still find it. I don't know what the fuck those guys did with the site, but it's too bad, really. The internet game is not a good one. But, I was doing that for a while, and I was just like her, I mean, like I had no agent, no representation, no manager, no nothing, I had a few scripts, but what I quickly learned during that time is that you just need good representation before anybody can take a look at it. And now that I'm on the other side, I've learned that I legally can't look at it because it needs to come through an official channel that can, if she's got perhaps like a legal representation, that could, like a good lawyer that could back her up. Just because these days it's so hard with copyright, I mean, like, Jesus, I could point to, there's all sorts of, lawsuits come down all the time going, you ripped me off. This is why we can't just look at something, because we need someone who's got the skill and the legal representation to back it up and officially document it as being a submission. I would love to read it. I'm sure she's talented as fuck. But what I would advise her to do is just either find a lawyer or just get a good manager, and have them do the due diligence and submit. Yeah.
Also, is there anything about a new Insidious movie? I know that the fourth one just came out this year.
It did, yeah.
But, it's my favorite horror movie.
Yeah. Did you like the last one? Did you like 4? Yeah. Did you guys see Insidious? Lasky? Did you like it? Yeah. All right. Cool. I mean, you guys can be honest with me. It's fine. I mean, this is why it's important to get feedback. We're not living in a bubble. We love to hear from the fans.
I stayed silent.
Fair enough. All right. You said well. All right.
Lynn Shay.
Yes, Lynn Shay. Guys, Lynn Shay is a national treasure. I mean, she, to go from, Bob Shay's sister, Bob Shay, being the head of New Line, that was head of, that was the House of Freddy, and she was in Nightmare on Elm Street, she was in Critters, and now she's just got, now she's got a franchise all her own at her age, which is amazing. It's just, I keep saying it's the second coming of Lynn Shay, and she's like, but she's a sweetheart. But yeah, I mean, like when it comes to sequels for us, it's never say never. I mean, we don't think about doing sequels until after the films are out. We want to see, I mean, like, we'll leave it to the writer-director to maybe, like, stew in their ideas, but we won't have an official discussion about it until really, like, the movie comes out. Same with Truth or Dare. We didn't really, we wanted to see how Truth or Dare did. Did you like it? Yeah? Oh, right on. Okay. Yeah, we just want to see how these things do first. It just, because creatively, we want the director to really put everything in the movie they're making. It doesn't make any sense to come into a room and go, all right, so I got this amazing movie. It's a horror film. This is what's going to happen. And then for the sequel, and it's like, well, no, put it in the first movie, man. Like, that's just, let's see, tell the best story you can. in the shot that you have to make it, you know? So, I'm sure there'll probably be more. I mean, we love that franchise, so, yeah.
Hey, to kind of piggyback off her question, does Blumhouse hire on-staff writers like think tank writers to help polish scripts?
The question is, do we hire staff of writers? You know, back in the ye olden times of Hollywood, that was the way they did things. You know, the studios would hire directors and put them on contract for multiple pictures and put them on writers on contract and just have them sit in a closet and go come up with some ideas, you know. We did it once. We had 2 writers that were incredibly talented, but they were mostly used for television. Yeah. And I would go in the room and go, guys, I had a dream. This is the movie idea. Ready? And they go, oh God, Ryan, stop. But there was one time I actually walked into the room and they had on their board, their whiteboard, it was Ryan's idea. And I was like, oh, thanks guys. Thanks for exploring that.
We're gonna put it on the fridge, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it right here, and then we're gonna erase it when you leave the room. But no, I mean, like for us, the path to success in making films in our system is really being the director. We work in such low budgets. Having a script that comes into us and doing pouring. You guys gotta understand, so many movies don't get made just because of bad development. The studios gobble up this idea. They'll sit there. They'll beat the script to death, and then the movie comes out, and you can just tell it's a passionless effort. And for us, it's really about the director coming in going, I know what your system's like. I know you make films on a low budget. I've got a scary story I really want to tell, and it's amazing, I mean, when we did Get Out, that was Jordan's thing, Jordan had this script all over town, and Blum, we all read it, and we were like, this thing is crazy, but we got to make it. And because Jordan was already a director, we were going to take a shot. We were just like, all right, let's do it. But it's really about being a filmmaker coming in with a passion project.
That's cool. You guys are more like the new version of United Artists.
Exactly. We have like the United Artists. Kind of vibe with a little bit of Corman, and then the showmanship of William Castle. I just sit there and I just throw all these things out there. And
I do have one other part. All right, keep my hands down. Spawn.
Spawn
coming out 2021, I think.
Spawn's coming out. We're actively working on it.
Because I know you guys are smaller budget, but
yeah. But again, that's Jason is adamant about making sure creators are involved. When we did Halloween and we brought Halloween in, even though that we were already speaking with David Gordon Green and Danny McBride about it, Jason was like, we need John. I don't want to make a decision without John. I want John involved because, John was there from the beginning, obviously, but it means a lot to me to have him there. So Jason hopped in his Wonder van. Jason drives around in a van. He's got a driver, but this van is it's an office. It's an office in a van, and I love sitting in it if I can, because that's when you can get all the work. But there's a laptop and a TV, and it's when you learn very quickly why he's processing so many things so quickly, because he's just constantly driving around town, but he's working nonstop. But he drove over to John's house in the van, and he called me 15 minutes later, and he was like, he's in. And I was like, oh yes, yes. And John is going to be seeing the film very soon, and he's going to be scoring. So it's going to be awesome. Yeah, very excited.
Now, I can't remember seeing the Blumhouse logo in front of it, but is there anything else you can say about Glass?
Glass. Glass is so top secret, I haven't even read the script.
Really?
No. No, I'm serious, man. That is one of those, upper echelon things. It came, I remember, Split, I did have my job, just so you guys know, is to be there to bring in projects, bring in filmmakers to do projects with, and then be there for the development process, and be there for notes, and be there for, every kind of step of the way, and occasionally go on set and just kind of oversee, be kind of like the lead executive on the set. And when Split came through, we got the script for Split, and I remember reading it, and I was getting to those final pages, and I'm not going to ruin it for those who haven't seen Split, but I was just like, no way. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Are we really doing that? Are we going to do that? And we were like, well, yes. I mean, we're like, it's night. Of course we're going to do that. And then it disappeared, and Knight went off and shot his movie, and the next thing I know, a couple months later, we were seeing a first cut. And I was sitting there watching it, and it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes, I think, or 2 hours and 25 minutes. That was the original, like the director's cut. Yeah. And there was some cool stuff. I don't know what the Blu-ray has because I haven't watched it, but I remember there was just more elements of Mr. Glass's presence being felt in the world of Split. There was just more. There was a scene where Betty Buckley was talking to one of her colleagues by a lake, and she's walking through a park, and you just saw smoke coming out on the horizon, and they mentioned another Mr. Glass terrorist attack, and I was like, oh, cool. But it was just hard. It was hard to. What we didn't want, and I think this is why Knight removed it, Knight wanted you in the story. He wanted you in the moment, as opposed to wondering, what's that smoke, and why is there, who's this person? And so it's just really about these two characters, about Anya Taylor-Joy, and so it was about that, and then let that little button at the end be the surprise. So for Glass, I just remembered Blum came in, and he's like, I read the script. It's a physical copy. It's amazing. And I was like, cool. When are we going to see it? And he's like, you'll see it soon enough. And I saw a sizzle reel for it recently, and oh my God. I mean, just like the cast alone, when you see the cast, I don't know. It looks incredible.
So you saw the one that played at cinema?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun just to see these, see Bruce Willis and Sam Jackson and James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's just he created a new world that I think people will get excited about. So, yeah.
Sorry to laugh again. My favorite world you guys have invented has been the Purge universe.
Yeah.
Clearly, obviously, I asked the question, but you're now expanding. There's a new movie coming out this summer and a TV series.
Yeah.
Can you talk about either one of those?
So Blumhouse is divided in with the features department and the television department. And the television department is rapidly expanding. They're really sinking their teeth into that world. They did Tremors. They did a pilot for Tremors with Kevin Bacon, which I wish took off. I mean, we had just gotten the news last week that it didn't go. It was wonderful. Vincenzo Natali, who directed Splice, did the pilot for it. Incredible. I mean, and Vincenzo was doing incredible work on Hannibal as well. And Westworld, yeah. Oh my God. I mean, that guy. I would love to. I'm actively trying to find another movie for him. So he did incredible work. That said, Purge just made sense to do a television show, and James DeMonico, who is the creator of that world, is heavily involved. And so with I haven't seen too much of it because it's a TV thing right now. We've just been actively involved in making sure the first Purge gets finished. But wait till you see the first Purge. It's crazy.
Did you geek out when Jordan Peele won the Oscar?
What's that?
Did you geek out?
Did we geek out when Jordan? Oh yeah, of course.
Get Out screenplay is probably the best '70s throwback screenplay I have ever read.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know. Get Out is incredible. After our first meeting, well, it's really hard to be in my position. I'm one of you guys. I came up going to Fango shows at 7 years old and nerding out with Lance Henriksen and nerding out with all these guys who were doing the convention circuit back then. And so it's really hard to contain myself when I'm doing when I'm on set on Halloween and Jamie Lee comes on and I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And then Danny McBride is like, bro, that's Jamie Lee Curtis. And I'm like, you're Danny McBride. And Jamie Lee Curtis is here. And then I'm texting my girlfriend going, Jamie Lee is here. And she touched my arm. It's very weird. So when Jordan came in, I was sitting there going, oh my God, Key & Peele. This guy, he's so funny. And oh my God. And he came into my office. My office is very distinctly me. And I've got the Waxwork Records, Rosemary's Baby record up on my wall. And Jordan came in and he goes, oh man, who did that art? And I was like, oh, yeah, Jay Shaw. And he was like, oh, can I have, I gotta find one. I was like, I got you. I'll do everything I can to get you a copy. And then after reading Get Out, I said, just like nerd to nerd, I think Get Out is amazing. I like just reading it. And I love what you're saying about this, this the kind of societal stuff. Have you ever seen Society?
Oh, no.
And he goes, no, man, what's Society? And I said, it's a Brian Usna movie full of 80s goopiness, and it's got a thing to say about the rich and all this stuff. And he goes, I'd like to see that. And I was like, all right. And so I slipped him a copy of Society. So that's kind of like my place. I get in there and I'm going to just whisper in your ear and go, hey, have you ever seen House on the Edge of the Park? And then somebody's like, no. I'm like, well, it's not for the faint of heart, but you should check it out. And then when Lee Wanell comes in, he just camps out and we just nerd out for forever and not get any work done. But no, we were very, it would have been cool to get the best picture, but you know what? That was well deserved on Guillermo's part. Guillermo earned it, man. Guillermo did an incredible job. I still think, you guys can fight me on this, but I think Hellboy 2 is like his ode to Harryhausen. Like, he did such a magnificent job with Hellboy 2. Like the world he created and just the beauty, the tapestry of characters and all that stuff. I love it. But what he's been doing is really strong work, and I think he earned that. So I'm just very curious to see what he does next. Yeah.
What did you mean by Back to the Future 2 in
Happy Death Day?
Yeah.
I can't say. Yeah.
Could you talk more about the Blumhouse production model and formula? I saw Jason Blum on a panel years ago.
Yeah.
Originally, it was kind of Corman inspired, but with low budgets, aiming for like a single location.
Yeah, I think that's changed a little bit. When I came in, when I was a journalist, what I was seeing from Blumhouse was what you're talking about, which is super low budge. Don't forget, Insidious was made for like $1 million. Whoa. And I remember going on set, and because our kind of thing is to find filmmakers who have that passion, that did really great films, and this kind of maybe had a few whiffs, maybe films that didn't quite take off. And James, kind of went back to scratch. He was like, you know what, fine, I'm going to go make a movie on my terms and my way and do it for nothing. And Jason was there to support that vision. And so after that, kind of Blumhouse 1.0 was, kind of single location horror movies, low budgets. I think that at the time it was more like $3 million, and single location, really high concept, small cast. And I think that's grown just because Blumhouse has grown. The budgets went up to $5 million. We don't do anything beyond 5, except if they're kind of IP. Spawn will probably be a little bit more. Halloween was, just because they warrant that, But any of the, Get Out was under 5. Happy Death Day was like around 5. So it's that model remains the same. It's 5 or less. Really great concept, something that we could, that we try to attain a theatrical release with. We really want everybody to see it on a wide level, and creative control. We give our filmmakers creative control. I'm there to kind of it's literally in the features department. There's 4 of us, so it's me, Bea Sakara, who is one of the co-producers on Get Out, Cooper Samuelson, and then Ray, who's one of our creative execs, and there's only 4 of us, and we're just kind of plowing through projects and trying to find them and think about, what. For me, it's always about pushing the genre forward. I love throwback films, but I feel like nostalgia gets in the way a lot, for a lot of films. So it's really about trying to find out, 1, is it scary? 2, is it dramatic? 3, how is it pushing the genre forward? How are we doing some new stuff with it? And I think there's a lot of great films right now that are doing that beyond us. Like Hereditary from A24 is insane. Quiet Place is very well done. Yes. That's a very well done movie. So we're living in a good time. I just read some bullshit article this morning. It was like, horror's dead. I'm like, really?
We just want to.
I was like, it was like Quiet Place did really well. Horror is dead, and I'm like, who are you? And what? Can we have a conversation about this, please? And I think it was just something about, I don't know. I can't even begin to understand it. But anytime anybody says horror is dead, it just drives me nuts because they don't understand the cycles the genre goes through. Horror goes through cycles. It goes through these really big, big booms where we're getting the J-horror remake craze, or we're getting the torture porn craze, or we're getting, the remake craze that we saw, from 2005 to 2010. And then it gets quiet, and it's during those quiet times that's when we see really exciting movies creep out. I think that's when Insidious was discovered. I think that even It Follows. That's a nice little movie that crept up on us too. It just goes through cycles. Horror never dies. That's just stupid.
I don't understand how you can see that.
Yeah, I don't
only
understand
won
either.
Oscars.
I know. I don't get it. You and the Halloween T-shirt that I have.
Horror people.
So is there a specific, when you're looking to work with the director?
Yeah.
First off, is there people right now, can you say who you want to work with? Is it there's any filmmakers out there that you really like? And also, do you look at anything they've done previously stylistically? Is that the determining factor, or does it have to fit the Blumhouse? I don't know, someone like Blumhouse Montes, something like that. Would you? I mean, I never.
Panos. When it comes to the filmmaker, here's the thing. Yes. Are they accomplished? Have they done at least one really exciting film? Yes. I mentioned Vincenzo Natali. I think Vincenzo would be fantastic in our system. Brian Fuller. I want Brian Fuller to do a horror movie with us. He's kind of in TV land, but every time I see him, I go, you should do a movie for us, Brian. Maybe if we get Friday the 13th. Who else? I was talking to Don Mancini. I was like, Don, we're ready. Let's do this. Come up with something that's not Chucky. And let's find a movie to do. Keep doing Chucky, obviously, because I love it. But the criteria really leans on the script and the idea. It really, script, especially for you aspiring filmmakers out there, script is everything. Real characters, real decisions being made in those films. The audience, you guys have gotten so much smarter. The horror audience has evolved. And I think it's very challenging to tell a horror movie today, especially when there's just so much real world shit going on, and YouTube and Live Leak and all these things that we poke around on the web and see real stuff happening. Can we be shocked anymore? Can we be shocked anymore? Can you guys be horrified? Are you guys, or is it just kind of, it's entertainment? Entertainment? Yeah.
Scared.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's I feel like we need to kind of revert back to classical horror and dread again. I think that Hereditary did a really good job of that. That movie's, I don't think Hereditary is scary, but there is pervasive dread throughout. It just makes you feel unsettled. I felt like Sinister, what Scott Derrickson did with Sinister, I think that was just bursts of terror along with that dread. And Quiet Place, Quiet Place is just a scare machine. But I just feel like that's a big challenge. But through all of that, through all of the horror and the scares, what's really important is the drama at the core of it. What kind of story are you telling? You look at movies like Don't Look Now, Rosemary's Baby. There's so many others that those films, and The Exorcist, those films work because once you stripped away all the genre elements, they're just great stories at their core. Rosemary's Baby, you've just got a really bad, crazy marital drama between Rosemary and her husband Guy. This guy who's going to do anything for fame. And that kind of bled through in Sinister. Ethan Hawke's character has the same motivation, which is, I'm going to move my family to a murder house because I want fame again to write a book. And that's that really gets the audience in there. And then Happy Death Day, Tree's journey is, she was a mean girl. She's a mean girl because she lost her mom and she doesn't know how to love and she doesn't know how to go through that. And through this experience, she becomes a better person. So for us, it's really about, to answer your question a long way, is filmmaker with some interesting stuff behind them, and then a really great script. I would love to work with Panos. But I think Panos might be out there, man. Did you see Mandy? Mandy is a very abstract nightmare. I mean, he's got these characters that are basically Cenobite bikers. That's the best way I can explain it. We call them Cenobikers. When we talk about Shockwave, we just call them the Cenobikers. But no, Panos is fantastic. He's definitely someone to watch. Anna Lily Amapur, I would love to work with her. Lee Janiak, who did Honeymoon. I don't know if you guys have seen Honeymoon. You should check that out. I would love to work with Lee. I would love to do something with Kieran Foy again. Kieran did Sinister 2 for us. And even though, Sinister, those are tough movies to make, and I know that they had a tough time on production on that one. But he did a great film called Citadel. Anybody see Citadel? You know, that was a good moody piece, and I think Kieran's got the chops for another scary movie in him. So, yeah.
This is a quick one. You mentioned the Tremors pilot. I'd forgotten about that. So there's no chance that somebody else will come in and pick it up?
Not at this time, no.
And is there any chance that we'll ever get to see it?
Yeah, no, probably not. I mean, that's the nature of like pilot season and TV, is I do all this really cool stuff. What was the one that Joe Hill had? Lock and Key. Yeah. You know, they did Lock and Key. That hasn't gotten out there, has it?
Started in. I forgot who directed it.
Yeah. Mark Romanek, I think. Mark Romanek. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Hollywood has especially in TV, they've got all these cool things, you know. And then if the creators pour all of their heart and soul into it, and if it doesn't take off, it doesn't take off, and then you guys never get to see it, which is a bummer. But who knows? Maybe in 20 years' time, someone will just leak Tremors or something like that. Yeah, way in the back.
Yeah, is it true that Blumhouse and Hulu's working together?
Yeah, we're doing a really cool thing with Hulu right now. Jason just did an announcement with Hulu. We're doing 12 movies. They're telefilms, or we're calling it episodes. It's an anthology series, and they're all based on holidays. So we're doing one a month, which you can imagine what the production line is going to be like for that. So we're doing. There's a great film. I think it's Paul's been tweeting about it nonstop. Paul Davis, who did the American Werewolf in London documentary, and also wrote. I think it's called Beware the Moon. He also wrote a book. He's going to direct it. It's called The Body, I believe. But that's going to be the Halloween episode, and then we're going to do a Thanksgiving one. We're going to do Christmas and Father's Day and Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, and it's just going to be really cool films with really exciting filmmakers. And I know our TV team is working feverishly to figure out the production timeline. But we're it's going to be, like the old days, just doing a film back to back to back to back to back, and hopefully roll the same crew into each film and just keep moving on. It's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited to see where it goes. It's going to be fun. I'm going to go way in the back there.
Okay, so my favorite universe is the Sinister universe. Could you talk any more about how you guys plan on expanding that?
I wish I could. There's no plans just yet. No. I think I really love Sinister. I think Sinister is definitely one of the scariest films that come out recently. And I think Sinister 2, they did a really great job. But I don't think our partners in that, I don't think they were exactly thrilled with the performance. I mean, in how it did. So I don't know. I mean, it's like one of those things that's on the back burner, and we're never going to say no. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
You said earlier that you were looking for a movie that turns into a TV show, like the previous TV show. Why not Sinister?
I will run that by TV. I'll let you know. Yeah. We'll see. I would love to see more Sinister. And it's about Scott Derrickson too. Scott Derrickson. We love to maintain our relationships with our filmmakers. That's really important to us. So James DeMonico on The Purge, James Wan and Lee Wanell on Insidious, and Scott Derrickson on the Sinister universe. So we'll see. Yeah, way in the back there.
What VHS tape did you run out?
What's that?
What VHS tape did you ruin watching so many times? What was your inspiration back in?
Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was my number one. It was my. It was kind of. I grew up in Connecticut. My parents were incredibly supportive in my artistic endeavors. I was a big comic book kid. I was always drawing, and my dad introduced me to, he didn't mean to, he introduced me to Cycle of the Werewolf, and I was 6. The book had just come out. He's a big book collector. He collected Stephen King. And, back in the early 80s, we had these giant speakers in our turntable, and the speakers came up to about here, and I remember walking up to it and seeing Cycle of the Werewolf, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh my God, this woman's getting her face ripped off by a werewolf. This is incredible. And my mom was like, don't look at that. To which I found it later on and continued looking at it, and the Bernie Wrightson stuff just took over. I was amazed by it. So Bernie Wrightson's line work, the way he drew, was just so beautiful. So I followed through with that, and then my parents started recognizing that I had a penchant for the macabre, and so I was reading horror comics, and then my dad would sneak me out on school nights to go see movies, and Frightmare was one of those films where I would actually, I don't know why my parents did this, they made me go to bed, and then my dad would come over and go, let's go to the movies. And I'd be like, what? What's going on? I'm in my pajamas, my Star Wars pajamas. And Friday Night was one, but he was, I remember my grandmother came along with me on that one. And I was in the back seat. And we lived in a very small town in New England, and so the movie theater wasn't too far away. And we got about a half mile away from home, and he pulled over and he goes, "This is a scary movie, and if you can't handle it, you can get out." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "You recognize the post office, so you can find your way home." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, you can just go, because honestly, I'm not going to turn around." And I was like, "Oh, I'm in it. Let's do this." And Friday Night was just one of those movies that was a perfect culmination of horror and sex. And I mean, I saw my first nude woman in that movie. I was just like, oh my God. And comedy. That showed me that horror could also be funny.
Great makeup.
And incredible makeup effects. Yeah, I was a big model kit builder when I was a kid. So I know that someone did the vampire bat, the Friday Night bat. They did a model kit of that. But no, guys, Friday Night was a big one. And then from that point on, the floodgates opened. I saw The Fly opening night. I saw Aliens. And I remember seeing Aliens, and my local news did a sneak preview of Aliens. And they were like, this big movie, that's a huge hit, that's a sequel to a huge hit's coming out. Now, avert your eyes if you are very sensitive, because we're going to show you a clip from Alien. And I was like, oh, what is this movie? I had not seen Alien before Aliens. And they showed the chest burster sequence. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? And I think my mom was sitting there going, I can't believe they just showed that on our local news. And my dad was going, you're going to see a whole lot of that tonight. And I was like, yes. So that's the kind of household I grew up in. But Friday Night was that one that I just wore out. I loved it so much. That and Return of the Living Dead. Yeah. I have my thing is horror comedy. I really love horror comedy quite a bit. Evil Dead 2, those kinds of movies. It's my personal taste. I just love it. And when Chris Landon came through to do Happy Death Day, I was like, oh, cool. We're going to do a horror comedy for once. Because, when you do the films that are tough in the Blumhouse system are, films with a lot of action. And when you do comedy, it just requires a lot of time. Comedy requires time, and time equals money. So, when it came around to do Happy Death Day, we just knew, based on Chris's previous work, that he can handle the comedy, and he can get the coverage he needed under the time that we had for him. So, yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
I have a quick question in regards to Spawn. I know it's very early on and it's a little bit way off. Is there possibility to somehow involve Keith David with the fact that he's very close with it, with the HBO animated series?
Yeah. I think that really is. I think it's really based on Todd. That's really Todd's decision. With our filmmakers, we don't put a lot of parameters on them when they cast. Because again, we're giving those directors creative control. So it's really up to Todd. We'll see. I saw some news break over the week. So we'll see. Yeah.
This recently, I know you have a good
partnership with Universal.
Yeah.
Any chance maybe you guys Universal get together and continue Dark Universe with their monsters?
The question is about Blumhouse and Blumhouse and Dark Universe, the Universal's effort to revive the Universal monsters. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think it's like one of those up top conversations because, as you know, Dark Universe is spearheaded by a completely different producer and different company. So we'll have to see. I mean, it's really up to them. It's kind of like those issues of like Friday the 13th. It's like there's stuff that we want. We would love to do that. You know, there's stuff that we would love to be involved with, but it's like tied up with other people. You know, so we'll see. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but David Gordon Green, before he got involved in Halloween, I was really shocked when he took that project.
Yeah.
Because he was really involved with the remake of Suspiria.
Yeah.
Did you have conversations about how you felt how Suspiria is being held by...
He's super stoked.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is about David Gordon Green. David Gordon Green was going to do the Suspiria remake before Halloween. I tried to get him to send me his draft.
Yes.
I was like, I want to read your take, buddy.
I want to know his version.
I know. So do I. He won't send it over. Or he'll go, yeah, I'll send it tonight. And then I'll wake up the next morning and be like, there's nothing in my inbox. Would love to read that. But the thing with David, I knew we were in good hands with Halloween because he had been attached to so many other kind of horror projects. He was going to do Freaks of the Heartland, the Steve Niles graphic novel. I think he was going to do that for HBO. And then he was going to do Suspiria. And I was like, that dude's got a horror thing in him. Like, he loves that. And I'll tell you I knew we were also in great hands when I landed because I was the point exec on Halloween. So I spent 3 months in Charleston, South Carolina, and the first night that we had like kind of a big dinner, I walked into this restaurant, and it was McBride, and it was David Gordon Green, and I had just I'd been binge watching movies all day, and I was just like a little groggy, and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And McBride goes, "Oh, talking about Shockma." And I was like, Shockma, the monkey movie? And he goes, yeah, man. He's like, I just watched it today. It's amazing. He's like, what'd you watch? I was like, Rawhead Rex. He's like, I love Rawhead Rex. And I was like, we're all going to be friends. We all, because that's the language that these guys talked, I mean, like David would sit there and he, what did he say? Oh, I'm blanking on this piece of information, but he was like, do you know what movie dethroned Batman, the first, Tim Burton's Batman at the box office? And I'd be like, no, I don't. And then he would tell me. He would just know immediately. I'm like, oh my God, we're such nerds. But that's when I knew like David was also just the right guy. Yeah.
For the Hulu Holiday Anthology Series, how likely are you to get Eli Roth to do Thanksgiving?
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. I know they have Thanksgiving shored up, but if it continues on, I mean, like Eli's doing that a lot of big stuff now. He's doing that the house with the clock in its walls. Have you seen the trailer for that? Very intrigued by that. I'm not familiar with the book, but I'm very excited. Like it looks really slick and outside the box, and that's where I would love to. That's why I respect Eli, and I mean, like BH Tilt put out Green Inferno. Green Inferno was kind of on the shelf for 2 years, and so I like that movie a lot. But I also want to see him break outside the box a little bit and do some other stuff. For him to do like a YA novel is cool. But yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, I would love to do Thanksgiving. I'm always trying to find a way to do a scary slasher movie without laughs. Like I don't want we're doing Halloween, but it's not an original property. I want to do a scary fucking slasher movie again, and it's very hard to find because the inclination a lot of people have is to do something like Scream and do something with a wink nature and a fun. And I'm like, there's got to be somebody that's got that breakthrough idea that's not so laden with nostalgia and have that grindhouse feel. Just something contemporary and scary and original. I can't crack it, but I would love that. That's what I want. Yeah. Oh, someone new. Go back there. I'll come up to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Fangoria started taking subscriptions again this week.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what we can look forward to in the new magazine?
No, Fangoria, I mean, I don't have much to do with it, but I mean, like, because I was part of the family one time, I think it's great that they're back. because I think I think there's a lot of great horror magazines out there, but they kind of lean too much into one thing over the other, but from my understanding, they're going to bring class back to the magazine. It's going to be less about reviews and less about. I know the days when I was there, everybody was like, "It's just like advertising. You're just doing an article just to get the bucks." I think it's going to be a little bit more insightful. It's going to be more bookish. I know that the subscription price is a little crazy. It was I think it's like $60 for 4 issues over the course of a year, but it's 100 pages per issue, and it's going to be have a spine. It's going to be different stock quality paper, less ads, and just more about content. So I was very excited to have Fangoria on the Halloween set. It was very exciting to have that because it was everybody just they came in and called, and we had our press day, and then I got a call from Phil Nobile, who is the new managing editor, and he was like, "Oh man, did we miss a press day?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, Fangoria's back." And I was like, "Oh no, you got to come to set. You got to come to set." And Jamie Lee took to that immediately. Jamie was she sat down with the Fangoria writer and just spent a lot of time with her, just hanging out, which is great. So very excited. But yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I think it's a good thing. I think it's fun. And I'm very curious because Dallas Sanye is a producer in his own right, and he did Brawl in Cell Block 9 and Bone Tomahawk, and those are really great films. To have someone who's a producer behind it, I think on a business level, that'll help out and help build the brand. I think I have one more. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
Last year, Trent Reznor did the theme for Halloween.
Hell yeah.
Is he gonna be on to the new movie?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he was asking about Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did the Halloween theme last October. It was a great way to send us off into production because we listen to it all the time. It's really cool, but I mean, who knows? We'll see. I mean, we had a lot of people asking about that, and then there was a lot of people that were vying for it, but I was like, we got John Carpenter. Let's go John. Let's see what John does with it, So we're going to wait and see. I think John's going to deliver. But I mean, but Trent did an amazing job with that. That thing is so cool. And I like how it comes in. It just feels like full Trent, in the last 45 seconds. It's really cool. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you. Yeah.
I was just wondering, Nick Castle commented that the trailer wouldn't be out for a couple more months.
Yeah.
Due to the reaction, they're bumping it up.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm trying. Again, it goes back to it'll be soon. It'll be soon. The reaction, the louder you guys get, the more we take.
We're dying,
I know. But anyways, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll do live shockwaves tomorrow at 1 o'clock if you guys are still around.
Thank you for listening to Deep in the Horror of Texas. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you like what you hear, please leave a review on the iTunes or Stitcher radio app. And above all, remember to keep it scary.
To the room of people who have rooms of people that they loved one day docked away. Just because we check the guns at the door doesn't mean our brains will change from hand grenades. You laughing on the psychopath sitting next to you. You laughing on the murderer sitting next to you. You think I'd get here sitting next to you. But after all I've said,